At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Cincinnati Reds. Friday Night Baseball is presented by Jeep. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com today. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. By Budweiser, still brewed the hard way, this Bud's for you. By Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. And by Verizon, don't miss a moment of Mets baseball on the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network, only from Verizon. Well, the Mets are back in town, away from Milwaukee. Now, the brats are good, but there's nothing like a New York bread hot dog. The cheese is not bad in America's Dairyland, but they don't have pizza like this. Come on. And street art, well, not much in Milwaukee. We got it here in New York. Yeah, the Mets are back in town. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, and the 1980s version of Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open a 3-game series against the Cincinnati Reds. Mets announced today that left-hander Steven Matz, native of Long Island, will come up and pitch on Sunday, and the Mets will go to a 6-man rotation. But the issue right now for this team is not pitching, it is offense. 11 runs in 8 games on the just completed road trip. What can this team possibly do to generate more offense?
Well, this team has a lot of players that are young and developing. A lot of players are on the disabled list. A lot of players from the AAA. So it's incumbent on the veterans to come through. Now, Curtis Granderson had a very nice road trip, hit 300 on the road trip. But the other 2 guys, and they're the 3 and 4 hitters in the lineup, I'm talking about Lucas Duda and Michael Kadire, have got to pick it up. They had a brutal road trip offensively. Lucas, he had a 30 home run year last year. They're pitching him differently. This is a learning year for him. He's not made any of the adjustments. He's chasing the bad changeup again. Kadire, I don't know what to tell you. I can see his expression. He's pressing. He's getting caught up in this collective team slump. But there's 88 games left. Over a half a season left in the season. If those guys can pick it up and do what they did last year, and Kadire years past, then that's going to be the big lift this club needs.
And that would certainly help out the young pitching, starting tonight with Noah Syndergaard, who had an abbreviated start his last time out.
Well, when you think about it, I think for Noah, he's had 8 starts now. This is, I think, the time when he needs to start putting it together. 2, 3, 4 starts in a row. He struggled in his last start, threw a lot of breaking pitches early, worked behind in the count.
One of the best pitchers in baseball over the last 5 years has been Johnny Cueto, battling a little elbow problem right now, but still one of the best.
He started at 20 and 25 in his career. He's been 69 and 36 since then. Keith, you talked about Lucas Duda. He's got one of the best changeups in the game.
So it's the Mets back in town to start a 6-game homestand, hoping that home cooking will get them on the right track. Mets and Reds from Citi Field. All the action tonight on SNY. By your Tri-State BMW Center. By State Farm. Today's State Farm agent of the game is Brian Levitt of Park Slope. Contact Brian at WeInsureNewYork.com. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit Geico.com for a free rate quote. The first post-game concert of the season is tomorrow after the Mets play the Reds at 4:10 p.m. It features the Steve Miller Band, and it's all presented by Pepsi, and it's all included in the price of your ticket. Purchase tickets online at Mets.com/concerts. The Caldwell Banker home field advantage, and the Mets are rolling at home this year, 26-11, and Noah Syndergaard's been part of that. Struggled on the road, but 2-1 with a 2.13 ERA at home, and hoping to keep the good home fires burning tonight. Gorgeous night in New York as Syndergaard makes his way in for his 9th Major League start. The Mets and the Reds. Syndergaard's first pitch is up momentarily. It's decked in blue tonight. First of a 6-game homestand after a 1-7 road trip. Trying to build off Jacob deGrom's fantastic effort yesterday in Milwaukee that finally got the Mets a win on the road. The Reds have been surging. They have won 6 of their last 8. Your Hyundai starting lineup. Brandon Phillips, who had a home run in the 13th inning to win in Pittsburgh last night. Reds didn't get to their hotel till after 4:15 in the morning today after that late game. Their catcher, Devin Mesoraco, out for the year. Their shortstop, Zach Cozart, out for the year. And both Eugenio Suarez and Brian Pena have been doing a nice job filling in.
Well, this should. You see the Jeep numbers for Noah Syndergaard. He's had 4 good starts, 4 so-so starts. But this should be a lineup of a lot of young guys and a lot of guys who swing at balls off the plate for him, maybe to pile up the strikeouts. The only problem, Joey Votto, of course, who takes any pitch close.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Metropolitan defense. Granderson, we noted, has been the one hot hitter out there. And Tejada remains at third base, where Murphy is on the horizon for a return back at that third base position. And Plawecki, who's had a nice road trip in 13 at-bats, was 6 for 13 on that road trip behind the plate.
Well, Brandon Phillips, who always hits in Flushing, will lead off. In fact, Phillips has played 29 career games at Shea Stadium and Citi Field, and he's hit in every single one of them.
He won a game for the Reds just a few hours ago.
It was at 12:42 this morning in Pittsburgh in the 13th inning. Syndergaard's fastball misses inside, and we're underway. And Phillips has already taken the measure of Mr. Syndergaard's 97-mile-an-hour heater.
He laughed at Joey Votto like, man, this kid throws hard.
No, he just got to get a little crouched.
Thirteenth inning. Goodbye. Phillips, who sat out the night before with a sore thumb, the same thumb that landed him on the DL last night, back in the lineup last night and hit the big home run. Had 3 hits on the night. 99 from Syndergaard, and it's 1-2.
Interesting to see Syndergaard in his last start against the Braves came out really trying to establish the breaking ball. It never happened for him. He also gave up a lot of cheap hits, but still only lasted into the 4th.
4 innings, 4 runs, 3 earned, 6 hits against Atlanta. No decision game for him. And he strikes out Phillips to start the night with pure heat.
Inside gas, down and in. Ties him up. Good pitch.
9 career starts. Syndergaard has struck out the first batter of the game in 5 of the 9.
Well, it's his strength. He should go to it until a team establishes that they can hit it.
Here's Joey Votto, 4-time All-Star, former MVP, having a resurgent season for the Reds.
He's been sort of healthy. The last couple of years he's had a lot of health issues. Looks a lot thinner, doesn't he, Gare? He's lost some weight.
Swinging at the first pitch. That's an oddity for Votto. And he lifts one to Lagares for the second out.
Yes, particularly since he's never faced Syndergaard. Well, he looks in good shape.
Well, the Reds' rising star, Todd Frazier, is hitting 3rd in the order. Out of Toms River South High School and Rutgers University. 29 home runs last year was a career high. He's already got 24 this year, off to a rip-roaring start. Frazier with 46 extra base hits to lead the National League. And he swings at the first pitch and pops it up. Galecki had trouble finding it, but Duda sees it just fine. And that's an easy first inning for Syndergaard. He threw just 6 pitches. So the Reds, who got in late, swinging early. That's come up in the bottom of the first against Cueto, no score. Hitter in an anemic Mets lineup lately. They'll try and get the Mets started against the veteran Johnny Cueto.
Oh, Cueto's. Oh, sorry, John. Gary, go with the lineup first.
Mets will hit the pitcher 8th for the 2nd straight day. Noah Syndergaard in the 8th spot. Dilson Herrera batting 9th. And now Johnny Cueto.
Sorry about that. I think the big thing about Cueto is he's pitching on 8 days rest. Hasn't pitched in 9 days because of some inflammation in his elbow. So, but when he's at his best, he's one of the best in all of baseball.
Granderson over the last 5 games, 8 for 18 with 3 home runs. And he takes the first pitch out of the strike zone for ball 1. Granderson at 249 on the year, the highest he's been in a while.
There's the changeup right there. Curtis, very streaky hitter, and he's in one of those hot streaks right now.
3 home runs in his last 5 games. And he hits one in the air to deep right field. Back goes Bruce to the warning track, looking up, and it's out of here! Curtis Granderson leads off the first inning with a Pepsi Porch home run, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead. Number 12 for Granderson is 4th in the last 6 games. '32nd career leadoff home run for Curtis.
Fastball. They want to come in. Better get it up. Oh, it bled out over the middle, right into that happy area, and that's way up in that tank.
4th time this year he's led off a game with a home run for the Mets. So a fast start back home for New York, and now Ruben Tejada. That Mets home run means $2,000 for an NYC community partner, courtesy of Citi.
Numero 12 for Curtis.
Tejada pops one up into center field. And Billy Hamilton backpedaling for it. That's the first out.
And a quick look at the Cincinnati Reds. That's always by Coors Light. Billy Hamilton in center field, really struggling this year at the plate. The speedster, the stolen base magician, and that is pronounced. The shortstop is not Eugenio. It's Eugenio Suarez. Just want to make you folks know how to pronounce his name.
Thanks for that. I'm covered now.
So Gary, can't botch it.
Eugenio?
Yes.
Thank you. I knew your Spanish roots would come in handy at some point. Lucas Duda at 264 for the year, just 4 for 29 on the just completed road trip.
Lucas has just been chasing change-ups out of the strike zone, left-handers. Big shift. The Reds, a new series here, a new team, and more of the same.
And you saw that reaction from Cueto, and you wonder whether the elbow is an issue early.
That reaction to me looks like he's frustrated with his command. Like, you know, he's a guy that throws the ball exactly where he wants it. He's missed with a fastball to Granderson, 2 changeups to Duda.
There's a good changeup by Cueto, and it's 2-2. Well, he hasn't pitched in 9 days. Right. That's got to have an impact, right?
Here's the old Lucas must be having nightmares about the changeup. He just has not made the adjustments, which I began to think at this point. And I watched a lot of games, most all of them. I missed Sunday's game. It seems to me with Lucas chasing the changeup that he's not identifying it. And there's Kevin Long right there, the hitting coach. And if you're not identifying the pitch, then that's when you see it's almost like a broken record. There you go.
Cueto strikes out Duda. First strikeout of the night. 2 out.
There's a changeup we talked about before. You can almost see his number as he turns his back towards you. He starts out with a fastball away, then a changeup not even close. 2 of them in a row. And then the 2-1 pitch was the big pitch of the at-bat. Fastball he should have handled, but then the changeup down and in.
Now Michael Kadire with 2 out.
And Kadire has been one of what I've seen. You see a lot of Michael chasing that slider away. His strength is the right center field, the opposite field gap. He's been pulling too much. So I just feel that everybody is feeling. I've been on teams where you haven't hit. They certainly weren't the Met teams that I played for, more the Cardinal teams early in my career, where collectively everybody tries too hard. And you get out of your game.
Kadire 4 for 25 on the road trip. Batting here with 2 out and nobody on. Cueto changing the rhythm and hesitating and
stumbled. He's got a little bit of a Louis T on him. Sometimes he'll delay, he'll pause. Sometimes he'll quick pitch him. You have to watch out.
I think he'd almost lost his footing on the rubber. That's what he's laughing about.
Now the quick pitch, and it's hit softly to Phillips at second base. So Cueto using a little craftsmanship there to get through the inning. Gives up the home run to Granderson to get the Mets started. 1-0 New York after 1. Question: who's the Mets franchise leader in home runs against the Reds?
Well, that trivia question sure got its rest last night. Up and early.
What are they having there? A little salt and vinegar chips? Popcorn.
Jay Bruce breaks his bat but pulls one through the hole for a leadoff hit to start the second. So Bruce, who has struggled for the last year and a half, all of a sudden the last couple of weeks starting to pile up some base hits, and he has the Reds' first one of the night.
Well, he's a guy that strikes out a lot, Garrett. Big, powerful young man. Big home run year a couple years ago, and you said injuries have kind of beset him, but he's an all or nothing hitter, and he's very talented.
3 of the first 4 hitters have swung at the first pitch.
Ryan Pena, the switch hitting catcher, has been doing most of the catching since the injury to Devin Mesoraco. Mesoraco, in fact, is going to have hip surgery here in New York on Monday to end his season.
In fact, they had kept him from getting that surgery because they had some games that were in DH, so they could use the DH, so they kept him out of the surgery for a while.
And that's a big loss for the Reds because Mesoraco had a breakout year last year. No swing, says Mike Estabrook, and it's 2-0 to Pena.
Well, Pena's done a nice job hitting .295. No home runs, not a lot of power, no power.
And he's a guy who can play other positions. He's a glue guy. He's bounced around from Atlanta, Kansas City, Detroit. That's lined into left, a base hit for Pena. And so the first 2 Reds are on to start the second. So after Syndergaard blew them away to start the first, different story here in the second.
Little soft liner. Line drive in the paper tomorrow. Fastball away if it's straight to left-handed hitters. They just serve it to left field. It's almost a natural swing for them.
So 2 aboard, and now Eugenio Suarez.
Very good year. I was ready for that. I was ready.
23-year-old Venezuelan who played in Detroit last year, where he used to be a switch hitter, now strictly a right-hand batter. And he's done well since the injury to Zach Cozart. Hitting a .311, takes the curveball for a strike.
Well, Syndergaard mixing in a lot of secondary pitches so far in this inning.
After throwing all fastballs in the first inning. Bruce at second, Pena at first, nobody out. He runs the fastball inside 1-1. Syndergaard last pitched on Saturday, so he is working on 5 days rest. Next time around the rotation, all the Mets starters are going to be working on 6 days rest.
Yeah, you're going to be pitching once a week. I mean, that's how it's going to work.
It's going to be a 6-man rotation, and the Mets have an off day on Monday. A curveball in for a strike. So Max is going to join the rotation on Sunday, which was to have been John Neese's day. So Neese gets pushed back 2 days to Tuesday. He pitched Tuesday in Milwaukee, and he'll pitch Tuesday here. And everybody else will also be working on a full week's rest.
Folks at home, if you're asking why the Mets are going to do that, well, this is for the second time they're going to do that, but it's because a lot of their pitchers, young pitchers, Harvey coming off surgery, DeGrom pitching almost 8 innings every night, Jonathan Neese not so much, but they're trying to keep their pitches, their innings at a certain level, an artificial level that they have found that they want to keep them at.
And Matz is part of that equation too. Ground ball in the hole. Flores on the backhand, and he gets the out at second. Nice stretch by Herrera to help him out, and they get the first out of the inning.
Well, they were lucky that the back runner was Pena right there, because he's not fleet of foot. This is a jam shot, and an average runner beats that throw. So nice stretch by Herrera, a little first base. Got to get in the corner of the bag though, but that's okay. He's a second baseman. Very well done. He's got himself hurt.
Is that a play where he might have had a play at third if Tejada had gotten there?
He could have gone to third, but Tejada broke out too far. He wasn't able to get back.
It seems as though third base is a real learning curve for Tejada.
Well, I said it earlier that you know, they're kind of weakening themselves in 2 positions, but they're going to stick with Flores at shortstop. And
for right now, and that could change in a few days.
Yeah, it could. Murph comes back. It'll be very interesting to see which direction Terry goes.
Terry kind of let the cat out of the bag today at his press conference. He used the phrase, when Wilmer moves to second. So I think it's pretty clear that when Murphy's ready to go, they're going to move Flores to second and Tejada to short. Chris Dominguez, the batter, breaks his bat, but it goes by Syndergaard, and the only play will be to first for Flores. They get the out, but a run comes in, and it's a 1-1 ball game. Syndergaard falling off the mound, and even though that ball was hit very weakly, he was not in position to field it.
Well, I tell you what, they all count, but this is a what you call cheap RBI right there. It gets sawed off, and it has a ribeye steak in it.
Well, you know what happens a lot of times, you break a bat like that, you just don't know how to react, but he also falls completely to the first base side, but slow reactions there by Noah, maybe because of that broken bat.
So the Reds scratch out a run. They're hitting their pitcher 8th, as are the Mets. Reds have been doing this on a regular basis, so Cueto bats here. And Cueto's been swinging the bat a little better this year, but he rolls one to Herrera and does not run to first base. So Syndergaard gives up a soft run in the second inning. It's a 1-1 game. the bottom of the second. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. At least 7 innings, 2 earned runs or fewer. The last 2 years, only Felix Hernandez has had more games like that than Johnny Cueto. What is Jacob deGrom had 7 in a row like that?
Yes,
now?
he has.
After yesterday's performance.
Speaking of deGrom, that was quite a performance in Milwaukee, putting an end to that 7-game losing streak. And really, if you look at it, Harvey lost a very tough 1-0 ball game that would have put a stop to the losing streak. Yeah. So you got 2, stoppers, I feel, in the rotation that could, keep you away from lengthy losing streaks. But the hitting was so porous.
Well, deGrom was just as good in his start as Atlanta. Yep. Had some bad defense play behind him and got pulled early, and it cost him a loss.
It's interesting to watch Cueto because when you think of him at his best, he's around 93 to 95. He's throwing 90, 91 now, but they've told me that that's what he tries to throw until he gets in trouble. Then he'll add on.
Flores groundsman right at Suarez, and Eugenio throws him out, 1 away.
Excellent.
We're going to say Eugenio as many times as we can today.
Instead of Suarez.
Until it becomes second nature.
That's right.
He's not the first Eugenio in the big leagues. The Giants had Eugenio Velez.
I remember. You know what? The quick pitching by Cueto, where he's mixing up his rotation. As a hitter, you have to recognize that and be ready to hit. Be more set in your stance and be prepared for that quick motion. You can't let him sneak attack you after you've seen him a couple innings.
Lagares' first pitch swinging, flies one to right center, and Hamilton ranges over to get it. 2 out. Lagares really struggling right now. Just 1 for his last 21.
Well, I think everybody's feeling the heat. If this was Gary, you mentioned earlier that as far as Met history goes, it was the worst road trip.
The worst offensive road trip of 8 games or more in Mets history. They've had 222 road trips of 8 games or more. Their 1.4 average runs per game was the lowest of any of those 222 trips. 1965, they had a 13-game trip where they averaged 1.5 runs per game. 65 was not a good year. Plawecki pulls one foul. Now, Plawecki had himself a good road trip in that he was healthy, finally. He got some hits, and he got to walk the catwalks at Miller Park.
He did. He and Eric Campbell, both. I wonder if even though he wasn't feeling well, the few days rest revigorated Plawecki.
You see Cueto's game now. Cueto's not throwing hard. Whether he's got that tender elbow, he gave him the extra day's rest. I've seen him throw harder. So he's relying on a lot of movement on his fastball run.
Since 2010, that's the last 6 seasons now, the second best ERA in the major leagues. That's awfully heady company. And, Cueto's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. It's quite clear the Reds are not going to re-sign him. And he is very much going to be on the trade market if the Reds are not in the race. And, it's complicated now because the Reds 2 weeks ago were really out of it. But they played so much better the last 2 or 3 weeks that it might change their plan.
I think they're behind 2 teams. They're behind 3 teams behind the Cardinals, the Bucks, and of course the Cubs. That's going to be hard to overtake, especially St. Louis, which seems to win each and every day.
You got San Francisco. As far as a wild card is concerned, San Francisco and the Dodgers are over 40 wins. The cream always comes to the top, it finds a way.
Well, here we are on June 26th. There's Brian Price, the embattled Reds manager. You got 5 weeks till the trading deadline. If over the next 3 weeks the Reds continue to play the way they're playing and they're within a game or 2 of the wild card, it would be awfully hard to offload. Cueto strikes out Plawecki to end the inning. That's his second strikeout. 1-1 game after 2. Changeup tonight.
Well, what I love about his changeup, see the circle grip, and that means that the thumb and the forefinger make a circle on the inside part of the ball. You grip the rest of the baseball deep in your hand, and that allows you just to throw it as hard as you can, and the ball is only going to go slower and down just by gravity alone. So even if it doesn't move an inch, it's going to be 10 miles an hour slower than your good fastball.
Beautiful night tonight. First night of the homestand. We'll see about tomorrow. A lot of big blobs out to our west.
Once I saw the weather report, I said I'm going to be back on Sunday if that's all right with you.
You're not working tomorrow?
No.
You're off?
Yes.
Good for you. You're going to come out and see Steve Miller after the game?
He might be on at 1:30.
Might be perfect timing for you.
That's right.
Billy Hamilton hitting ninth in the order, and the Mets pinch the corners in against the speedster, and he takes a strike. The good part of Billy Hamilton, 36 stolen bases. The bad part of Billy Hamilton, 270 on base percentage, or as they always have said, you can't steal first base.
That is a fact.
What you can do is bunt and run like heck, and he does that pretty well too, which is why the Mets have both corner infielders in on the grass.
But he runs so fast, you've got to be in even more. If he makes any kind of a decent bunt, he will beat it out. Because I'm just trying to tell you folks, this is not a guy who's fast. This is above and beyond any speed you've seen in baseball.
He's playing in today's game with a lot of fast infields, and he's got 45 strikeouts, or 88 games left in the season. If he puts the ball in play, think of how many infield hits he'd get. You know, Vince Coleman was great at that on AstroTurf.
Hamilton retired, 1 out. Get to Citi Field this Sunday. The Mets take on the Reds at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans will receive a Lucas Duda growth chart courtesy of SNY. After the game, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays.
Well, I know
growth chart, actual Lucas.
I know where I'd come on that growth chart. I'd be right around his chin. Lucas is a big guy. Dwarfs me.
Maybe you come up to his upper lip. Speaking of upper lip.
Yes.
What happened to you?
I got tired of the gray.
You got 20 years younger overnight.
I got tired of the gray. I told you I don't like the gray, so I had to go to the pharmacy and I got Just for Men, and I did it.
The last time I saw you look like this, you used to go 3 for 4.
Phillips slides one into center, and for the 30th straight game in Flushing, Brandon Phillips has a hit. Every game he's ever played here,
really,
out in the parking lot.
I'll be darned. That's not easy.
You know, I say this about Brandon Phillips. I have no idea if I'm right, but he is a primetime player, and to me, he loves playing in New York City. Remember Hanley Ramirez, when he was with the Marlins, loved coming and competing against Reyes here in New York City? I feel the same way about Brandon.
Now Joey Votto with 1 out. By the way, the only visiting player, who's ever had a longer hit streak in Flushing is a guy who eventually became a Met.
I know who it is.
Luis Castillo.
There you go.
32 straight games he hit in. As a visiting player, all of that was at Shea Stadium.
Well, Votto in the 2-hole, and that is the new, I guess what you'd call sabermetrics, where they found out that they feel statistically they have their case that more men, that's the one position in the batting order that's going to get the most chances to drive in runs. They're going to have to sell me on this one. I'm open to it. I'm observing, but I don't like Votto hitting second. I'm sorry.
Well, Keith, I think it makes a little more sense when you have a hitter hitting ninth.
Yes, no question. Because then you become the third hitter.
Right.
But when you got a pitcher hitting ninth, I mean, I would hate to hit second in the first inning. I'm not going to have a crack at an RBI in the first at bat. Unless I got a speedster in front of me.
Or he doubles.
Well.
Or singles and steals a base.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. Limited options.
Maybe a triple in front of you. That would be the easy RBI.
Seems like it's all about you and the RBI to me.
Man, I love the RBI.
That first inning RBI where the team never gets headed, that game-winning RBI stat that you dominated.
That never should have been. Not that everyone was that way, but To me, it should have been, which is one of the sabermetric statistics that I like, is clutch hitting, batting average, close and late. When a game's close, 7th inning on.
Well, I like to take that a step further. Win probability added.
Yeah.
The big hit or the big play late in the game that changes the team's probability of winning the game, which is, after all, what this thing's supposed to be all about. 1-2 coming to Votto, and it's taken inside 2-2.
As good an eye as anyone I've ever seen in baseball over his career. He knows the strike zone as well as anyone.
He's a very cerebral hitter. And almost to a fault, I feel.
45 walks this year, 403 on base percentage, and he's reached base now 32 straight games. Phillips at first and 1 out. 2-2 to Votto. And he takes that one a sliver off the plate, and it's 3-2.
Dana DeMuth did a double clutch there. Home plate umpire.
This is where I think a veteran hitter got the benefit of the doubt. I thought it was a strike.
Well, we'll see right here.
Do you think that still happens now?
I think it still happens with a guy as the caliber of Votto.
Phillips runs. Votto strikes out on the changeup, and Phillips steals the base without a throw.
Well, this is one of the things in today's game that I think makes hitting a lot more difficult, and probably you see a beautiful changeup sinking by Syndergaard, who throws 98 miles an hour. And I think, Ronnie, the last couple starts, he's improved on his changeup. But as a hitter, I think why we're in a pitcher's era is the 3 divisions in the interleague play. You don't get the familiarity of as seasons go by. It's hard to get a fix on the pitchers when you face them only one road trip in one homestand.
There's Todd Frazier, and he takes the curveball off the plate.
Dana DeMuth's been around a long time. He was umpiring when we were playing.
Yes, he was. Very quiet, soft-spoken.
Yep.
Syndergaard has struck out 2 tonight. That gives him 50 for the year. Phillips at second and 2 out. And Frazier lunging at that curveball, 1-1. They're the home run leaders in the National League. Frazier tied with Bryce Harper, who, by the way, is out of the lineup for the second straight day for the Nats. Right behind Giancarlo Stanton, presented by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code NYM for free entry. Of course, the Nats starters aren't allowing a run these days. They've gotten on that run that you expected them to get on. Phillips takes off for third, and he steals the base without a throw. He had an enormous jump that time.
Well, the Mets weren't holding him on, and they weren't going to cover with Tejada.
Yeah. You said, Ron, he likes the bright lights,
yep.
And he's got 2 stolen. Well, that's just, how can you not steal that one?
A walking stolen base.
Give it to you.
1-2 to Frazier, with Phillips at third and 2 out. Tie game, 3rd inning. And Frazier nubs the curveball. Syndergaard off the mound. Phillips didn't realize there were 2 out. Didn't matter. Frazier's thrown out to end the inning. A hit and a runner left at third. 1-1 game.
inferno. Jeez, the Lord's angry.
I think we were thinking more of the heavens, not the other way around. But
Aradicio.
Beautiful.
Well, coming up at 4:30 on Sunday, it's Mets Insider here on SNY.
Terrific ad lib, Gare.
Johnny Cueto will face 8, 9, and 1 in the Mets order in the third. Noah Syndergaard hitting 8th, and he swings at that first pitch changeup. Well, second straight day that Terry Collins has hit the pitcher 8th. He did it with DeGrom yesterday. This is the third time Syndergaard's batted 8th.
2 changeups in a row from Johnny Cueto. It has got around the league and a microsecond about Thor's ability to hit.
4 for 13, including a home run. And that's just off the plate. 1 and 2. Syndergaard, by the way, has the highest batting average in the Mets lineup tonight, hitting .308 at the start of the night.
That's the pitch I know that Cueto wanted to pitch to Granderson when he came inside. He wanted it up and in, not down and in. Granderson just dropped that barrel on it for his 12th home run of the season.
And Syndergaard goes down on strikes. Another good changeup by Cueto for his 3rd strikeout. So Cueto, since giving up that leadoff home run to Granderson, has retired 7 in a row and struck out 3 of the 7.
Yeah, 3 of them all on changeups.
So 1 out. Now Dilson Herrera hitting 9th in the order for the second straight day.
It's been a struggle for Dilson, but I still have high hopes for him. I think that he's a terrific young talent.
A base hit yesterday that snapped an 0 for 16 skid. And takes a curveball from Cueto that misses. First one of those he's thrown.
When you're a young hitter and you're trying to get your feet wet in the big leagues, this is a 21-year-old kid here. I really feel he can hit. And the team has struggled as it did on a road trip like that. It's doubly tough. It's tough on the veterans, but it's doubly tough on the young players.
It's got to help now, though, that the last 2 nights he's batted in the 9th slot in front of the hottest Mets hitter, doesn't it? I mean, at some point, if you're pitching, Granderson's up next. It's 3-1 count. You got to get a ball to hit.
Well, I think it's good for Granderson. It would be nice to get him up with a man on base occasionally. There's a strike on the outside corner. Well, this could be the last we see of Dilson for a while, because if they are going to put Murphy at 3rd and Tejada at short and Flores at 2nd, then Dilson needs to go down for some more at bats in the minors. 3 straight strikeouts for Cueto, 2 out in the 3rd. Murphy's going to play tonight. The plan is for him to go 7 or 9 innings, and then they're going to talk tomorrow morning, and he could be here as early as tomorrow, maybe Sunday.
Well, wasn't the story about Willie Mays that he would struggle when he first came up and he wanted to go down, and Leo DeRocher said no, wouldn't let him go down? He said, you were going to stay.
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle got sent down.
Keith Hernandez got sent down.
Well, don't put me in that group. But those 2 guys, probably 2 of the greatest players ever played the game.
Granderson with 4 home runs in his last 19 at bats after hitting a leadoff home run in the first.
I'm just laughing. Cueto's just having a ball of it out there. He's slow pitching, quick pitching, turning his back to the hitter. I mean, the closest thing that this generation has to Louis Tiant.
Question for you, Ron, is it tough to maintain mechanics when you're doing different speeds like that?
For almost everyone, I would say 99%. But for him, it's part of what makes him a great pitcher. His ability to change it up. You have a hard time picking the ball off him. He'll quick pitch you. He doesn't mind throwing 3-4 changeups in a row. He's not out there trying to impress the radar gun. He's out there to try to get you out.
He strikes out Granderson. So he strikes out the side in the 3rd inning. 4 consecutive strikeouts now for Cueto. We've played 3. It's a 1-1 game, and when we come back, Steve Gelbs will be talking with last night's winner, Jacob deGrom. Lead off against Noah Syndergaard, and we send it downstairs to Steve Gelb. Steve?
Well, Gary, the Mets needed Jacob deGrom to pitch a great game yesterday. He certainly did that. And, Jake, when you go into a game like yesterday, 7-game losing streak, offense struggling, what is the mentality as a pitcher?
I try to keep my mentality the same. I just go out there and try to put us in a position to win. I think when you start trying to do too much, you maybe start overthrowing, walking guys, and that never is really good for me whenever I start doing too much. So I just tried to go out there and put up zeros.
Jake, you put up zeros yesterday, and you've been so great for so long right now, really since coming up last year. On the surface, it looks like it's just been straight consistency. But what has been the biggest difference for you year 2 after year 1?
I think just being able to adjust to the hitters, trying to read their swings off me, making adjustments, watching video before a game, with the teams I've faced, and come up with a good game plan before the game.
The one time this year where you did struggle a little bit, you and I spoke a lot about the adjustments you were making during your bullpen sessions. On the flip side, though, when things are going as well as they are, what do you use those bullpen sessions for?
Just to stay consistent, try to be able to repeat my delivery and just keep on working on that. So, try not to do too much in those now, just try to get off the mound and, keep that consistent.
In terms of keeping things consistent, obviously things will change a little bit now going to the 6-man rotation. What are your biggest concerns about keeping consistency and keeping a routine moving forward?
It's an adjustment we're going to have to make. We're trying to save innings so we can pitch later in the year. So I think I'm just going to have to go about it and, learn while I'm doing it, because we like throwing on 5 days, but, we understand the concept behind it.
Have you thought about what you have to do specifically in between starts? I know when you were struggling, you went to using 2 bullpen sessions that one time this year. Is that something you're thinking about using going forward now?
Yeah, that's a possibility. Maybe try to get off the mound twice in between starts to just stay sharp. So, but we'll see. We'll go from, when it happens now.
Well, it is happening because Steven Matz is coming up, and I know you guys rehabbed together when you both were undergoing Tommy John surgery. You're close with him. What type of interaction have you had with him since the call-up, and what type of pitcher can the Mets fans expect to be seeing here?
Steve's going to go right after people. He's not going to be scared out there. He's going to attack hitters, and he's a great kid. And we have become good friends. And I texted him whenever I heard the news and said congrats. But I'm sure his phone was getting blown up, so he just said thanks. But I'll talk to him when I see him here.
As someone quickly who has been through this very recently, going from AAA to the majors, what will you tell him in terms of making that adjustment?
Just continue doing what he's been doing. Throw strikes and try to locate. Don't try to do too much when you get here. Murphy told me that last year when I first came up, and it stuck with me since then.
Jake, appreciate the time.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Gary.
Really has been an embarrassment of riches for this franchise the last few years, from Harvey to Wheeler to deGrom to Syndergaard and now Matz. I mean, how many franchises have 5 prospects the caliber of those 5?
Well, 5 guys who all-star break next year, you throw Wheeler in the mix.
Suarez pulls one. Tejada belly flops and throws him out. Nicely done by Tejada to end the inning. 1-2-3 go the Reds against Syndergaard in the top of the 4th. Tejada shading toward the line. It served him well. And plenty of time to get up and throw out Suarez. That's come up in the bottom of the 4th, tied at 1. perch at Citi Field, looking out across the rest of Queens. Johnny Cueto allowed a leadoff home run to Curtis Granderson in the first inning. He's retired 9 in a row since then. Ruben Tejada leads off the home fourth. Tejada fly to center his first time. So it is looking more and more as though Ruben is going to get a chance to go back to his natural position at shortstop. Part of the premise was that Ruben was hitting. Well, Ruben has kind of stopped hitting along with the rest of the team. So the question is this team better off with Tejada's defense at short? And he gets hit by a pitch again after he got drilled yesterday as well. Got hit in the hand yesterday. This time looked like it was more toward the elbow.
Yep. I'm not so sure if. Oh, just kind of glancing blow. Still hurts. I'm not so sure, Gary, if Flores. I mean, Alderson, Sandy was adamant about not moving Flores off a shortstop. And has made a point to say, I'm not going to make my players go from one position to the other. Where Terry kind of made. He kind of alluded to, didn't really allude to, he stated second base.
I think what Sandy was saying was he wasn't going to make one move now and then make another when Murph comes back. But I think when Murph comes back, it sounds as though they're ready to make the move.
Well, Murph is definitely going to play third, and that's where he needs to be. So the question is going to be.
Well, this may be moot because.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, Ray Ramirez spent a long time with Tejada, but anyway.
The big question is going to be when Murph comes back. It's going to be who's that short.
Right. And I guess my question is, you can leave Flores where he is and play Herrera at second and put Tejada back in that utility role, which is where he came from. Your defense is obviously better if you put Tejada at short and Flores at second, but is that gain defensively worth what you might potentially lose offensively?
I have a question. We haven't seen much of Flores at second base, and that's more of a comfortable position for him. But it's the same middle infield position. Is it going to be, you got basically the same read, but you're on the right side of the infield. I want to see what kind of range he has at second base. But he's going to play second base and all of a sudden have better range.
Well, he can play deeper at second base.
That's true, but we're not. But in double play balls, he's going to have to come in.
The arm issues are not as much
an
issue.
That's true. And obviously, the most important thing is the pivot and turning double play,
which he did very nicely last September when he was at second and Tejada was at short.
Absolutely.
And to answer your question, Gary, it's absolutely vital that you help this pitching staff out with your defense. And if you take whatever offense you can get from Tejada.
And of course, a lot of fans are screaming at their televisions right now and saying, what about Matt Reynolds? And I don't really know the answer to that. Do you? I mean, is Reynolds an upgrade?
I liked what I saw in spring training from him. He's a little fire plug kind of player. Pepper pot.
I mean, well, we already have a half dozen players from Las Vegas that are hitting 380 to 400 there, and they've come to the big league club, and for whatever reason, I don't know anything about hitting, so for whatever reason, there's certainly not 350 hitters here. So, is Matt Reynolds going to buck the trend and be the first one to come from there and change it all up?
Strike three called. Duda caught looking at a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Hardest pitch Cueto's throwing tonight. So he's got 6 strikeouts.
Tantalizes you with the slow stuff, Keith, and then
Lucas has been taking a lot of those pitches on the outside corner. And I remember the conversation that I had with Lucas in spring training, and I asked him what pitch gave him the most trouble, and I was really surprised by his answer. Well, he said the pitch on the outside corner, black. That's paint. And like this one right here, and I just said, well, why? Look how close he is to the plate. He should have coverage out there, Lucas.
Unless he's completely set up to pull, right?
Yeah.
Or he's completely set up to guess.
I don't think so. Well, like I said, I still feel that he's hit 30 home runs last year. This is really like a sophomore year for him. Pitchers are not going to pitch him the same way ever again. He has that capability. They've noted it. They pitch him a lot more carefully.
Well, especially with the lineup the Mets are presenting behind him.
Yes. And if he keeps swinging that changeup, they're going to keep feeding it to him until he quits. And you just cannot hammer a circle into a square. So when he learns again to lay off that pitch, then he's going to find himself ahead in the count. This is practically the same conversation that we had in spring training.
Dyer takes a fastball for a strike, 2-2. Michael grounded out his first time up. Wilmer Flores on deck. Mets have had just the one hit, Curtis Granderson's home run. It's been a nightly saga these last few days. Granderson hits and Mets generate very little else. Double play ball, and Suarez boots it. Tejada will go to third. Mets got a huge break. Should have been an ending double play. Instead, they have first and third and one out.
Looked at the bag before he made the catch. And he couldn't have been tough to use two hands, but I just think he got a little bit loose. Had ideas of running to the bag and tagging it himself before he had the ball.
Well, the Reds have made the third fewest errors in the National League, but this is a replacement player. This is not Zach Cozart, who's a terrific shortstop. Suarez filling in. And the Mets trying to cash in. Flores grounded to short his first time. And he takes the fastball low.
Well, they've had a hit by pitch and an E6 in this era. In this inning, let's see if they can turn that into some runs.
Flores leading the club with 33 runs batted in. And Cueto for a rare time tonight behind in the count.
See him walking around the mound. He's trying to decide what pitch he's going to throw here. Just seeing who's on deck, what the numbers are, what kind of hitter Flores is, what pitch am I going to throw 2-0, what ball can I get him to hit on the ground. Those are all the things he's deciding in real time as quickly as he can before he delivers this next pitch.
2-0 to Flores. And that's on the corner. Nicely done. 2-1.
That's the difference between the good ones and the mediocre ones and the average ones. And your dad, a crucial at bat pitcher, you make a 2-0 behind the count, and you got to make a pitch. And perfect slider.
By the way, for Suarez, that's his third error in the last two games. So he's having a little trouble right now. Reminiscent of the woes that Flores went through earlier this year when he was piling up errors. That's not been the case lately for Wilmer. Just one error in his last 37 games. Tejada at third, Kadire at first, and one out. And he lays off. 3-1.
Tried to get him to fish for the 3-1 changeup, Keith.
I think he wanted to throw it for a strike. I really do. He didn't want to get 3-1. It's just hard to do, you know. I don't care how good you are. Now Wilmer is in a position as he was in 2-0. It's his pitch to hit.
First 3-ball count of the night for Cueto. Tejada at third, Kadire at first. Would you run him here?
I would set him free. 3-1 count, I'd let him loose. Absolutely. The team struggling, stay out of 2.
Not going, and Flores pops one up foul. That'll go out of play. Well, talked about bad defense for the Reds. How about great defense with a little bit of mustard from Mr. Phillips?
He always does that. I always felt that's unnecessary. Even though he knows what he's doing.
He is spectacular to watch, though.
It's fun to watch.
This is an entertainment sport. He's as entertaining as it gets.
4-time Gold Glover.
Too cool for school. As you would say, Ron.
I like it, though.
Well, you got to send Kadire here.
Yes,
you?
Full count. Absolutely.
He's going, and Flores fouls it off.
You brought up something, Gary, earlier today. You and I were just talking. You said that Cueto has 4 balks this year, and they've been calling that he's been buckling that front leg on his throw to keep the runner close at first. So Kadire should be ready over there, just in case.
Well, you mentioned they've had a hit batsman in there in the inning. They take a balk. That would be a way to take the lead.
That's right.
Running again. Grounded to third. Frazier's going to come home with it. And Tejada will get on the rundown. And the runners are not advancing. They wind up at first and second.
And no chance to advance, Garrett. That is great fundies on the rundown.
5-2-5 on the fielder's choice for the second out.
Really just basically one throw on that rundown. Don't count the throw home here. Nice heads up by Frazier. Runner in motion. He's in. Now here comes the rundown. Frazier comes back, close the gap, run him back. Sweet. That eliminates any nonsense. That's good baseball.
Let me ask you a question, Keith. In terms of Frazier's reaction on that play, does he see out of the corner of his eye that Kadire's running, so
yes,
he knows he doesn't have a double play?
First baseman always has to yell, there he goes. It was my job. Well, it wasn't for the pitcher or the catcher to hear the whole infield.
And so the third baseman can hear you. You yell loud enough?
Right. I could let it rip.
Otto's Canadian. He may not yell as loud.
Oh, that's true. He's very soft-spoken.
Here's Lagares with 2 out and 2 on. Lagares flied to center his first time up.
Well, Rubin's on contact with the runner going. Not a great jump, but it wouldn't have mattered. He's a dead duck, and he's trying to get in the run down, but the Reds really execute well there defensively.
Let me ask you another question, if we have time. If the runner's going, does Tejada necessarily have to run? In other words, you're putting the runner in motion. That's going to keep you out of the double play.
If it's a contact play, if he's told by Tuffle, then he's got to go.
But it's not automatic.
It's not automatic, no.
Because if the runner's not going, then you have to come because you want them to get you rather than turning the double play.
You can come down the line, and the rule of thumb is as far as the third baseman is away from third base, that's as big as that's how far you come down the line and a couple more steps.
Off the foot of Lagares, I think.
And then as the throw, if the throw goes to second gear, if the runner wasn't moving, or to first, then you go home. You can. That's the other end. But the fact that was a contact play, and then nothing that Rubin can do about that. So more frustration offensively, more importantly for the Mets, not being able to get these runs in when the ducks are on the pond, as they used to say.
Well, yesterday they had 10 hits, and they barely managed to scratch out 2 runs.
Well, Terry Collins was saying it's not like we haven't been aggressive. That was aggressive play to send Kadire there. They had 7 hit-and-run plays on the road. Not one time did the Mets put the ball in play.
Well, they had several of those yesterday, and one of them got runner thrown out of second base.
It's just a lost art today. So a lot of players, they are not taught to hit and run. I think this game got away from the basics with the steroid era, and everybody thinking that the home run is going to make you the big bucks.
Yanked on the ground to short, and Suarez goes the short way to get the force, and the Mets are turned aside in the 4th, still tied at 1.
Cueto and Syndergaard side by side.
What's interesting about the one thrown by Noah Syndergaard, you can see he throws it with the seams, and he has such bigger hands than Cueto that his thumb is on the bottom part of the baseball, top there because his hand's underneath. But see what Cueto does with his forefinger? He really curls that around. Puts the thumb on the seam, but he curls that pointer finger around the baseball. That's what he pinches to make that ball move so much. So two different ways because of two different hands, but both approaches tonight have been very good.
Now, what about in terms of the release? With a smaller hand, does the ball come off your fingers differently than it does with a bigger hand? Chris Dominguez leads off in the fifth.
Well, absolutely. I think that the bigger hand that you have, the more you have to bury it. I shouldn't say that. The harder you throw, the more you have to bury it, because he needs to throw it at 89, 90 because he throws his fastball at 99. If you don't have a 10-mile-an-hour differential or more, you're going to be in trouble. Cueto now has thrown his fastball mostly around 91. You've seen his good changeup has been 80 or 81. Santana, of course, was the best because he always had it at 93, 94, and at 82, 83.
Dominguez down on 3 pitches. Syndergaard gets him out upstairs for his third strikeout.
That's what Syndergaard needs to learn to do a little more often. Is when you throw as hard as he does, go. You can see Pilecki, when you have the high, throw it right there. Don't throw it any higher than that. It's out of the strike zone. It's hard to catch up to.
So 1 out now. Cueto will bat. I need to ask another question about the changeup, just because it's a fascinating thing for me. Never pitched. You know, everybody knows that if you throw a fastball, you're throwing it off your two first fingers, your index finger and your middle finger. With all those fingers wrapped around the changeup, what does it touch last?
It still does. It still does come off your fingertips.
Nice bunt by Cueto, but it goes foul.
It's still, if you throw the fastball 4 seams, Gary, it's going to come off. See the 4 seams, guys. It's going to come off your fingers at the end. But if you do the circle grip, this is the circle right here. Your fingers, as you let it go, it's still, because it's buried. So don't see a lot of air here. Since it's still buried, when you let it go, it's still at the very end. You're flicking it with your fingertips. So still, this is how you feel. Just like a great piano player can tickle the ivories. Well, these fingertips are so important to pitching.
So you guys tickle the rawhide.
Is there any pitch that doesn't come off your first 2 fingers?
The split finger that I threw never came off the fingertips. It came off the inside of your 2 fingers, the pad of your fingers.
Curveball gets Cueto looking. Back-to-back strikeouts for Syndergaard to start the 5th.
Yeah, that split finger is the only pitch. Now, I've seen a lot of split fingers thrown a lot of different ways. This is the way I threw it. I was a 2-seam pitcher. It is 2 seams right here. Threw it in here. That's how I threw my fastball. Split finger, I threw from there. So it never came off the fingertips. It came off the inside of my 2 fingers. And that's how I got the tumbling motion. So that's the only difference between throwing the changeup or fastball off the fingertips. Split finger, you don't do that.
And of course, the knuckleball comes off your fingernails.
Never could throw that one.
Billy Hamilton bats with 2 out and nobody on, and the corners come in. Tejada further in this time as Hamilton bluffs the bunt and takes a strike.
Way in at the corner, Mr. That's Campbell over there at third base.
Ooh, Tejada came out of the game.
Came out of the game.
We never saw that. Tejada got hit on the arm by a pitch. Well, all that conversation we were having about Tejada moving to short, it may be a moot point.
I got to think that's something that's going to be day to day.
It's a good catch, Keith.
Well, I just noticed that there was someone a little taller and lankier over there at third.
And again, Hamilton laying off after bluffing a bunt, takes the curve for a strike. Here's Tejada getting hit on the arm. Right near that elbow. As we said, he got hit on the hand yesterday in Milwaukee. Hamilton flares one toward the middle, and a great diving catch by Herrera. Dilson laying out. You know, with Hamilton's speed, if that ball hits the ground, he's aboard. And Dilson using every inch of his 5'10" to take a base hit away from Billy Hamilton. Halfway through, Mets and Reds tied at 1. Dilson Herrera with a terrific piece of robbery.
So on his toes, Herrera on his toes, and gets set with the pitch and gets a good jump. He's athletic. He's got some talent.
Kevin Plawecki leading off in the bottom of the fifth. 7, 8, and 9 in the Mets order. Plawecki, Syndergaard, and Herrera against Johnny Cueto, who's allowed just one hit. Lead-off home run to Granderson in the first. So Max Scherzer is pitching tonight in Philadelphia. 2 starts ago, he pitched a one-hitter, gave up a broken bat single to Carlos Gomez. Last time out, he threw a no-hitter. They're in the bottom of the fifth. He hasn't allowed a hit yet.
Wow, Johnny Vandermeer.
Well, but think about this. The last 22 1/3 innings, he's allowed one bloop hit. Phillips catches the pop-up by Plawecki for the first out. 22 innings, one broken bat hit.
Cueto called this ball for some reason.
He's a little off, which is beautiful. No.
I don't think he was really calling for it. It's like a rain dance.
No,
there's plenty of rain coming tomorrow.
I happen to love players like that, to tell you the truth. Just a little kind of cuckoo.
Here's Syndergaard, who struck out his first time, and again starts him with the off-speed stuff.
He's got a nice breaking ball too, Ronnie.
Sure,
tight little break.
Yes. Scherzer does know that you don't have to earn that entire salary this year, does he?
Well, the Nats starters have now gone 45+ innings without allowing a run, which is a franchise record. And think about all those great staffs they had in Montreal. They never went 45 innings from their starters without allowing a run.
Yeah, those staffs were tough.
So, we knew at some point the Nats, with all that pitching, were going to kick it in gear, and they still got a lot of injuries to their position players. Rendon just went back in the DL. Harper's out of the lineup. Span's out of the lineup tonight. But the way they pitch, they can win a lot of games in a row, and they've already won 6 straight, and they're leading tonight.
Well, they've lost some people. With Harper's not in the lineup, and Rendon now on the DL. They've had injuries all year long, and they've kind of taken off of late.
Syndergaard just missed that pitch. He quick pitched him, tried to throw a fastball down and in, just missed it.
Well, we've seen Noah hit one 430 feet, so we know what he can do. Just off the plate, 3-2. So Scherzer has gone through the 5th now. No hits.
Wow. Come on, hitters, wake up.
Anybody rolling out the tape of Johnny Vandermeer? That's hooked into right field, but right at Bruce.
Nice at bat.
2 out. Drive around the majors presented by Cadillac. The aforementioned Mr. Scherzer is at it again. By the way, the Phillies, we haven't mentioned, Ryan Sandberg resigned as manager today. Scott Van Slyke, a home run to put the Dodgers up early on the Marlins, and Josh Donaldson not diving into the crowd yet today, but with a couple of hits and an RBI for Toronto.
Keith, you liked Max Scherzer from the first time you saw him in the first game this year.
Yes, I did. And remember, he was all jacked up that opening day. He pitched against the Mets on opening day in Washington.
Herrera hits one out to right center field. Back in the gap goes Hamilton to the track. Can't get it. It bounces off the wall, stays in play. Herrera's going to try for 3. The relay throw by Phillips to third. Gets away. It rolls toward the dugout, but Herrera is going to stay at third base. Thought for a moment he might try it with 2 outs, but he saw Cueto backing up and decided not to. It's a triple for Dilson Herrera, his first of the year.
380 out there where he hit it. Long way in this ballpark. He's got some power. And Herrera always hustling. And Cueto was late backing up third, and it almost burned him one.
There you see the Herrera running, and Frazier, the ball gets by him, and you're right. Really, the pitcher.
If that ball, I'm sorry to interrupt. That ball kicks out into the outfield side.
Yeah,
he's home.
That's right. So Cueto being late worked in his favor.
The second career triple for Dilson Herrera, and only the Mets' 7th triple of the season in their 75th game. So now Granderson has been the Mets' hottest hitter. We'll try and get Herrera home from third with 2 out. Reds put on the shift, inviting Granderson to maybe try and bunt the run home. They keep Frazier in close enough at third base to try and take away that possibility.
Yes. There's Cueto just basically falling asleep. And he's not even there. He tried to kick save it there. And could have cost him.
Guys, if you want to back up bases, you have to sprint and get as far next to the dugout as you can. That gives you the most time to go wherever the ball goes.
Change up and away to Granderson. Eric Campbell is on deck. So we'll see how carefully Cueto pitches to Granderson in this spot. Curtis's home run against Cueto was his second against Cueto in 12 career at-bats.
We saw Granderson pitch around Gary in Milwaukee. Kind of a similar circumstance. Close game.
Well, you got Campbell now in the on-deck circle, replacement for Tejada, who got doinked on his forearm and a glancing blow.
Well, he throws him a 2-0 changeup and gets a strike. Well, that's the latest hot streak for Granderson. 4 home runs in the last 6 games, all with nobody on base. Got a man to drive in now. Herrera at third and 2 out. And Cueto keeping it away from him, 3-1. Cueto has not walked a batter tonight. In fact, that's only his third 3-ball count of the night.
You got to think the 3-1's going to be a changeup, don't you, Keith? This has been his best pitch all night.
I don't think he wants anything to do with he's just going to play the percentages with Campbell, a right-hand hitter, and a young hitter opposed to a veteran.
And it's too high ball 4, so it was very much a pitch around. First walk of the night for Cueto, and now runners at the corners for Campbell. Your city probables for the remainder of the series. Matt Harvey goes tomorrow against the rookie right-hander Michael Lorenzen, and Steven Matz makes his major league debut on Sunday against Josh Smith, who will be making just his second big league start. So Campbell, who came in the game when Tejada was hit on the arm, will be the pinch hitter. Will bat for the first time, I should say.
That's the pitch coach Jeff Pico, who's going to come out and talk to Cueto. Why? Well, Cueto had the lineup in his head, with Tejada batting second. Doesn't know a lot about Campbell, or probably didn't even go over Campbell. So Pico and Cueto will go over him now.
Well, it has been just an awful run for Campbell. He started on Wednesday night, went 0 for 3, 7 hits in his last 64 at-bats. So he is badly in need of a big hit. And he's got an opportunity here. His last run batted in came June the 12th. By the way, in that game in Philadelphia, which Scherzer is working on a no-hitter, home run for the Washington Nationals, 2-run homer, Matt Dendecker.
Oh, good for him. Good for Matt. Like him.
Dendecker, of course, traded to the Nats right before the season for Jerry Blevins, whom the Mets hope to get back at some point. That's a strike to Campbell. Blevins was so good before he got hit by a line drive and broke his arm. Hopefully sometime in the next 6 weeks. And tied to Campbell 1-1.
Interesting. First pitch, little cutter. There's Lucas on deck. Second pitch, he ran it in. To me, that's going to set up something away.
He knows. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to attack hitters.
There he goes. Oh, missed, but it got by Campbell.
Up and in.
Well, you talked about Cueto, who was throwing 90-91 earlier, dialing it up when he needed to. He's dialing it up now.
Yeah. Oh, we're trying to pull Trixie.
1-2 to Campbell. Outside, Granderson almost strayed too far from first. Pena held the ball.
He was doing a little fake there, and he was fine. He had it under control.
Cueto having to work hard here in the 5th inning, already up to 86 pitches now. Threw 25 of them in the last inning when he worked out of trouble in the 4th. They got the first 2 outs here in the 5th, but the Herrera triple and the walk to Granderson have given the Mets a chance to grab a lead. 2-2 to Campbell. There goes Granderson. The pitch low outside. They check the half swing. He did not go, and Granderson steals the base.
I agree here. Good eye.
5th stolen base of the year for Curtis.
Good eye by Campbell. Tough pitch to lay off. Look at it sink. Beautiful. He's on top of the plate, Campbell.
So now 2 in scoring position for Campbell with a full count. Duda on deck. You figure he has to get something to hit. And he lays off ball 4. Cueto missing with a 3-2 changeup. Great turn at bat for Campbell, and now the base is loaded for Duda. It's been a rough night for Duda so far. 2 at bats, 2 strikeouts.
And the last one, a called 3rd strike. And this is the changeup, misses in, 1-0. Another changeup, fishing, should have been 2-0. Fastball up, should have been 3-0. There's your fastball he goes after, away. And then he takes a strike 3 right there on the outside corner. So important. I tried to focus on what the count would have been if he didn't go after bad pitches. Such a big difference.
Herrera, Granderson, and Campbell, the base runners with 2 out. And Duda goes after the first pitch changeup, 0-1.
The rub of pitching around people, like he did to Granderson, first pitch changeup here, is that if you don't get the next guy, then you put yourself in serious harm's way.
Duda had an infield hit with the bases loaded yesterday to drive in a run. 2 changeups, 2 strikes.
It's just to me right now, and I don't want to belabor the point, but it's the same thing all over again. It's like Groundhog Day. And to me, it means that Lucas is just not identifying the pitch.
Now Cueto ahead 0-2.
That was better. But you almost think now that he'd be set up for 1 up and in. When you're 0-2, you can pop him inside to show a pitch to move him off, maybe double up, then go back away and get him.
Cueto up over 90 pitches in the 5th inning, and the Reds bullpen's going to start getting cranked up. Remember, he's pitching with some elbow inflammation. Pushed his start back 3 days. Fastball away, 1-2.
And don't think as a hitter when you're struggling and you're leaving runners out there and you don't feel good or comfortable at the plate that you've got to fight all the negative going through your mind with these RBI situations. Here's a big 2-out at bat right here. Base hit, scores 2.
Out of the full windup now. 2-2.
Remember, Lucas had a big 2-strike hit in yesterday's game. Yeah, infield hit, but it worked.
And right off the foot of Will Smith, the pitcher, to drive in the Mets' second run. And he's worked his way back to 2-2. And Duda lays off and runs the count full. That'll get the merry-go-round in motion.
Well, it's always a little bit different when you got runners in scoring positions to make those pitches. And Cueto right now, his changeup has abandoned him. He's lost a little command of it, Ron.
He's abandoned it, and it's very interesting to see when he gets guys on base, he just slows it down as slow as you can go.
And in the middle of that at bat, he switched from the stretch to the windup. Herrera was getting big leads down the line from third, and now he and the other 2 runners will be going with the pitch.
He wants the deception, and deception comes.
Oh boy, how about this?
That was good by him to step off with that right foot, or it would have been a balk.
He's already had 4 balks this year.
Now I would be disturbed if the catcher came out here, because this is a big pitch. But Cueto asked the catcher to come out, so Cueto is composed and under control. He knows he has to make a pitch here.
Maybe he changed his mind when the catcher was going back. That's why he called him back out.
Bases loaded, 2 out, 3-2 to Duda. And he walked on to force in the go-ahead run.
Cueto got ahead 0-2, and Duda works out the walk. Herrera scores, and it's 2-1 New York. 3 consecutive walks by Johnny Cueto to force in the run.
And tried to quick pitch him there. I'm very surprised that he stayed away from Lucas. He had a pitch to kind of waste inside. He never came in.
Not only does this offense, but Michael Cuddyer, what a chance to get a big hit.
Cuddyer 0 for 2, reached on an error his last time up. And he lines one to center, but right at Hamilton, and that'll end the inning. The Mets, though, able to forge a 2-out run, a triple by Herrera, then 3 straight walks, and it's 2-1 New York after 5. Starts. There's your People's United Bank starting pitchers here tonight. Noah Syndergaard now with a 1-run lead after Cueto issued 3 straight walks to force in a run. Third time around the batting order now for Syndergaard. He'll face Brandon Phillips, who has one of the 3 hits against Noah, a single to center in the third. Phillips then stole second, stole third, but was left stranded. And a curveball from Syndergaard for a strike.
Well, this is where the good ones come in when they're home team. When your team gives you the lead, you shut the door. I don't know if Syndergaard's there yet. He is up and coming, developing as we're watching every start.
Lined, and Herrera catches another one. Not as much degree of difficulty as there was on the last one against Hamilton. That's the first out. Well, the 6th inning has been troubling for Syndergaard. Through his first 8 big league starts, his 6th inning ERA is 10.12.
But you pointed out something that was nice before the game, Gary. He pitches much better so far in his starts here at Citi Field, so maybe that'll help.
There's Joey Votto with 1 out. And takes a fast changeup for a strike.
Remember, it was his first start at Wrigley Field. It was the 6th inning that was the big difference.
Well, he has certainly been more efficient tonight. Look at his pitch count with 1 out in the 6th inning. Thrown only 58 pitches. Contrast that with Cueto, who's thrown 97 through 5. May well be done for the night.
He's got his secondary pitchers over tonight. That's the difference. You don't fall behind when you miss.
Votto hooks one to right center. Lagares cutting over. 2 out. Well, you made a good point earlier. You know, this is a very aggressive Cincinnati team, other than Votto. But even Votto's been swinging the bat tonight against Syndergaard because he's gotten his pitches over the plate.
I just think there's been a purpose with every pitch. On that at bat, he threw a fastball in off the plate to make it 1-1. Oh, I can't talk now. I got to shut up now. Let that go.
Could you get out of the way of the horses?
I got to let that go. But then he shook off Plawecki and went with a changeup away for the out. So he's getting an idea of how to get hitters out, or the way he wants to get hitters out.
There's Todd Frazier, who's popped up and hit a comebacker. 21 batters, 18 first pitch strikes for Syndergaard tonight.
It's big league right there. That's a nice seat.
I think you get waitress service down there too.
There's the hardest. It's the hardest I've seen him throw a curveball. Sorry to interrupt.
I get waiter service here.
Well, we have Russ.
What happened?
We got the big Russ here.
Russ is so stealthy. Russ, don't be so sneaky. I didn't see you.
He brought you the York peppermint patty, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he knows I love him.
Frazier hooks one toward the hole just past Flores. A base hit for Frazier.
Well, when you're having a good year, you get base hits like that.
Did you see that pitch, though? Plawecki asked for Syndergaard to bounce that pitch because he knows that Frazier on his front foot can still get a base hit. Syndergaard just wasn't able to bounce it. See that glove? Wants him to bounce it just up enough, and Frazier completely fooled, still able to hit a line drive.
He keeps his hands back and able to let go with one hand.
That's a great freeze frame right there, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, Jay Giles.
So the tying run at first, and Jay Bruce at the plate. Bruce all of a sudden has gotten hot. Last 9 games, including tonight, 15 for 33 with 3 home runs.
This is the one guy to fear in this lineup. Not the one guy to fear, but he's got tremendous power.
Well, he's a 2-time All-Star who just had a dreadful year last year. Hit .217 with 18 home runs and was off to a bad start again this year until just the last 10 days.
People talk about Jay Bruce. They talk about him like he's the natural. He can do it all. Just struggled hitting the last couple of years, as you said.
By the way, a medical report on Ruben Tejada, left elbow contusion.
Yeah, Bruce.
X-rays were negative.
Bruce. What happens when you get hit by a ball? We got flesh and it bruises. It swells a little bit. You put ice on it.
Well, but they took X-rays to make sure there was nothing else.
Of course.
And they were negative.
There goes the runner. Plawecki's throw on target and out at second. Todd Frazier gunned down to end the inning. 2-6 on the caught stealing. Nice job by Plawecki to get Syndergaard through the 6th. Tag by Flores on the belt buckle. That's up 2-1.
Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. I like the bubble inhalation. That was good in slow motion. Mets lead 2-1 going to the bottom of the 6th. And Johnny Cueto's still in the game for the Reds. Threw 25 pitches in the 4th inning and another 30 in the 5th inning. He's at 97 for the night. He's the guy who got his start pushed back because of elbow inflammation.
25, many of them under duress. Wasn't hitting the spots. 3 walks.
Jams Flores.
I wonder sometimes what happens. You know, Cueto, who earlier this year had a shutout through 8 innings. His team scored 8 or 9 runs. It was 8 or 9 to nothing. They sent him out for the 9th inning. He gave a 4 spot.
Smacked right at Phillips on one hop.
I wonder if sometimes you get a pitching coach with your best pitcher and you kind of go up to him and go, hey, can you give me one more? How do you feel?
Well, there certainly might be another factor in that. Remember that the Reds played 13 innings in Pittsburgh last night, had 6 relief pitchers work a total of 7 innings, and they might need Cueto to go that extra inning.
That makes more sense, Gary.
Well, he's already thrown as many as 125 pitches in a game this year. Up to 100 tonight. Lagares gets busted in. Ball 1. Lagares 0 for 2 tonight, just 1 for his last 22. Mets have had just 2 hits tonight, but they were big ones. A home run by Granderson, a triple by Herrera. Cueto, by the way, walked 3 in a row in the last inning. How much of an aberration is that? Well, Cueto has the best walk numbers of his career this season, 1.6 walks per 9 innings. He had walked only 16 batters in his first 13 starts, but he walked 3 in a row in the last inning.
He's in danger of doing it again. 3-0 count here to Juan.
I'd let Juan hit 3-0 here. I know I just would let him have his option to let it loose or not.
Sometimes letting players loose can keep them loose.
Well, the Mets only have 2 hits, but they've made the most of it.
By the way, you notice that Juan's wearing the eye black for the night game? I don't think I've seen that in a while. He's got some writing on the eye black. He had that yesterday in Milwaukee as well.
Cannot figure it out what he's got there.
You never wore eye black for a night game, did you?
No, only day game. The eye black is to deflect the sun's rays that you have off your cheekbones.
Looks like he has some Bible verses on his eye black.
A lot of frustration. You can see the shaking of the head. Fastballs should be hitting. I know what's going through his head. It's enough to drive you crazy.
8th pitch of the at-bat coming from Cueto to Lagares. And he hooks one to short. Comes up for Suarez. 2 out. Hear from left-handed pitching prospect Steven Matz in the latest Mets blog Q&A. Find out how he's preparing for his big league start and why having Tommy John surgery at such a young age was a blessing. On Mets blog, presented by Citi, part of the SNY.TV blog network. If you've been under a rock the last few hours, Steven Matz will make his major league debut on Sunday against the Reds.
I want to see how he answers that Tommy John and losing 2 years of your pitching career is a blessing. 3 years. Oh.
Milwaukee fouls one off his leg.
3 years, that's 45 wins.
Well, Steven was a #1 draft pick by the Mets coming out of high school. Born in Stony Brook, went to Ward Melville High School in Setauket. And at age 19 had the Tommy John surgery. And now at age 24, he'll be coming to the big leagues. His rise, when you consider how much time he missed, has been meteoric over the last 2 years.
young Plawecki here is been fed a steady diet of breaking stuff and off-speed stuff. They know that he likes that fastball. Welcome to the big leagues. Big learning curve here.
Well, facing one of the best right-handed changeups in the game.
Ah, there's Travis. What a shame. Jeez. Snake bit. When you're rolling snake eyes, you got to get off the table. Find a new table.
What does that mean in this case?
I don't think the Mets want him to find a new table.
Well, maybe a new position down the road. If Plawecki hits, that's toward the hole, and Votto, former Gold Glover, makes a nice play, and Cueto reaches up for the toss to get the out. So Cueto gives the Reds that extra inning and gets the side 1-2-3. 2-1 Mets after 6. Well, she's slightly blocked by the Go Noah sign. There she is, but in the blue Mets t-shirt. That is Hilda Maxine George, who is Noah Syndergaard's great aunt. And at age 97, Hilda tonight is attending her first ever Major League Baseball game.
That was so cool.
Very nice.
So, welcome, Hilda. Where you been? Well, her grandnephew is certainly acquitting himself quite nicely tonight. He's allowed just a run on 4 hits over the first 6 innings, and perhaps as importantly, has thrown only 64 pitches to get through those 6 innings. He'll face Jay Bruce to lead off in the 7th. Bruce was at the plate when Todd Frazier was caught stealing to end the 6th. And a first pitch curveball in for a strike. Syndergaard's strikeouts have been down a little bit. He's only struck out 4 tonight. But over his first 8 starts, he had 48 strikeouts. There are only 3 Met pitchers in history who had more. Nolan Ryan, Dwight Gooden, Matt Harvey.
Wow.
Noah Syndergaard, 4th on the list. And Bruce with the half swing becomes strikeout number 5 tonight for Noah.
That's another strikeout for Syndergaard. His 5th, but 2 of them fastball with 2 strikes up out of the strike zone.
And I think Keith's making a great point. Those strikeouts are going to go even further up. Once he learns he's ahead, he doesn't have to throw anything near the strike zone. Give the appearance that it's a strike, and especially up at 97 plus. Can't help but swing.
So 1 out in the 7th. Now Brian Pena, who's 1 for 2, singled back in the 2nd. Reds got their only run in the second. Back-to-back singles by Bruce and Pena. A couple of ground balls. And the Reds were able to scratch out a run.
2 first pitch curveball for strikes to the first 2 hitters.
He's getting his breaking stuff over today.
Well, we asked the question back in the second inning. Let's finally give you the answer to our Verizon trivia question. The Mets leader in home runs against the Reds, and not shockingly, it's Darryl Strawberry.
Didn't Darryl have his first game was against Mario Soto? Was I correct? And he had 83.
83
was his debut.
I wasn't
It was Soto. It was against Soto.
And Soto, I think, ate him up.
Struck him out 3 times.
And then the next time around, Darryl got him.
I remember the one he hit at Shea against John Franco in the 10th inning.
Yeah,
maybe it was the 12th inning.
Well,
Darryl took.
Sorry, John.
Darryl took a lot of pressure off of me in Montreal because I never saw the ball well in old Stade Olympique. And Darryl just crushed it there. Yeah. Just wore them out. So I never felt like I had to do anything but just get on base, and Darryl would do the rest. But I'll never forget the one he hit off the clock in St. Louis.
Yeah, off Candelli in '85.
Hanging curve.
By the way, second on the list is Howard Johnson. He had 22. Third is Todd Hundley, who had 18 against the Reds.
Darryl also hit one, and we've talked about it before, in the second tank or third tank in the Astrodome, where no one was sitting. And they had a popcorn thing. Remember the popcorn cart? And he hit it off the cart where no one was near. He's such raw power.
2-2 to Brian Pena. Curveball bounced over the mound. Herrera hustles over, lets it go for Flores, and he throws him out.
Nice.
That's the second time in 2 days that Herrera has done that. Let a ball go to allow the shortstop to make the easier play.
Well, he is a sparkling glove at second base. He is very agile. Oh, Flores made the play. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he made the great decision.
Yes.
Did exactly the same thing yesterday on a ball hit by Ryan Braun. And Flores was able to make the play. And the same again.
So that's good communication, guys. That's what that is.
Well, it's good instincts to know that the shortstop has his momentum going in the right direction.
Precisely. And as a shortstop, too, don't assume that Herrera is going to make the play and pull up and stop.
Suarez was robbed of a hit on a diving stop by Tejada his last time up before Tejada was forced to leave the game with a contusion on his left elbow. Overpowering Suarez with the fastball, and Syndergaard ahead 1-2. This, by the way, is Noah's second longest big league outing. He went 7 1/3 back on May 27th. Gone 6 2/3 tonight. Popped up into shallow left. Easy play for Kadire. And Syndergaard is through 7 tonight. Stretch time. Hilda's loving it. Final game of the series, Steven Matz's big league debut Sunday afternoon. Our coverage begins at 12:30 Sunday right here on SNY. Well, the Thor headgear is out.
There you go.
For Noah Syndergaard, who will be leading off in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Brunhilde.
Well, every Thor needs his Brunhilde. Veteran left-hander Manny Parra will pitch the bottom of the 7th for Cincinnati.
Well, this is his 300th appearance in the major leagues. He started off with Milwaukee, starting and relieving late in his career. He's only been a reliever with the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, Syndergaard will get his 3rd at bat. He's struck out and lined out to right. Noah's gone through 7 innings, throwing only 78 pitches, so he should have plenty left in the tank. And leans out of the way of Parra's first pitch breaking ball. Dilson Herrera on deck, then Curtis Granderson. After Johnny Cueto went the first 6 innings, allowed just 2 hits, a triple and a home run. And right now, that's enough to have him behind.
Syndergaard has seen a changeup from Cueto, a curveball from Cueto, and now a breaking ball from Parra on each of the first pitches.
Well, it gets out when you hit a ball dead central for a home run. Gets around the league pretty quick.
One of my favorite phrases, except if I was on the mound. Dead central.
1-2 for Parra, and he strikes out Syndergaard for the first out. So 1 down in the home 7th. And now Dilson Herrera, who has played a starring role tonight with his glove and with his bat. Herrera hit a triple beyond the reach of a diving Billy Hamilton in right center in the 5th and came in to score the go-ahead run.
Parra is one of the few pitchers that did not get in last night's ball game.
Reds are carrying 8 relievers. They used 6 of them last night. I just read where the Colorado Rockies have gone to a 9-man bullpen.
Wow.
I mean, I can understand of any team the Rockies wanted to do that with the need for so much pitching at Coors Field, but it would eliminate the bench. Keep adding so many pitchers.
Just have 9 relievers, no starters. Just have to pitch 1 inning a night, every night, the rest of the year.
Well, everybody's an everyday player.
There we go.
Team earned run average of 4.91. Bottom on the bottom of the pile.
And that's with the humidor.
Believe it or not, and that's pitching half your season in that park. They are not last, first in most, giving up most home runs. San Diego is with 80.
Which is unbelievable.
It is.
I know that they've tightened up the fences a little at Petco, but not that much. Fly ball to right, easy for Bruce. And Herrera retired, 2 out. Friday Night Baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com today.
Well, actually, I stand corrected, Gary. Philadelphia has given up 87 home runs.
Woo. And 1 more tonight to Matt Dendecker.
That'll make your manager quit.
Philadelphia.
By the way, there's a bulletin. Max Scherzer has given up a run. A run. That's the first time that a national starter had given up a run in 47 1/3 innings.
Well, just think, you won't have syrup on him tonight, at least.
Did you see, as Granderson lifts one to left, and that should be playable for Dominguez, did you see that they sent the chocolate syrup container that they used for Scherzer's no-hitter to the Hall of Fame? It's been authenticated.
Ridiculous.
2-1 Mets after 7.
Muhlenberg guys.
He's got the Mr. Softy, too.
David Wright T-shirt night.
Changing sponsorship.
I noticed that.
Well, Noah Syndergaard takes the mound for the 8th inning. And he'll face Chris Dominguez to lead off. Dominguez has driven in the only Cincinnati run with an RBI ground out in the 2nd. Skip Schumacher on deck to bat for the pitcher. And Dominguez takes curveball for a strike. Dominguez in the lineup tonight to give Marlon Byrd a night off. Marlon has been swinging the bat very well since coming back from a fractured wrist. And he'll be in the lineup tomorrow night. Line toward the middle, and Dominguez has a base hit. So the tying run aboard for Cincinnati to start the 8th inning. Just the 5th hit given up by Syndergaard.
Little hanging breaking ball, left it up.
Well, that first pitch breaking ball you get away with. The second strike and third strike you do not.
You see what happens too when you throw that flat breaking ball that stays on the same level, same plane. It's easy to track for a hitter.
Now Skip Schumacher. Campbell in at third, thinking the Reds might be bunting with Schumacher. I wouldn't think so. On the road, you don't necessarily play for the tying run. And Schumacher set to swing, takes the curveball out of the strike zone for ball 1. Now Campbell's backed up to the edge of the grass. And another curveball that misses. And now Syndergaard digging a little hole for himself behind 2-0.
Plawecki out to speak to him.
Well, Jeurys Familia is going to get up in the 8th inning. We saw that yesterday in Milwaukee. And here he is again alongside Alex Torres. Yesterday, DeGrom was able to get through the 8th after giving up a leadoff hit. And so Familia merely needed to pitch the 9th for his 20th save. Billy Hamilton on deck.
Schumacher fresh off the bench. You probably want to go after him first pitch. Now you're behind.
Schumacher has spent a lot of years with the Cardinals, one with the Dodgers, now in his 2nd year with the Reds. Double play ball, but Herrera mishandles it and just barely gets the out at first. Well, he was thinking about making the half turn and starting the double play, couldn't handle it cleanly, and then threw a little lollipop over to Duda, and they barely get Schumacher for the first down.
They may challenge this. He just tried to turn the double play. Oh, that's close. I'd like to get another look.
Did he throw a changeup, Ronnie?
I think it's almost like he didn't catch it right. When he got to it, he didn't know how close he was, and he kind of lobbed it over there.
They got him, but only by an eyelash.
He used 2 hands, Herrera, but he went to make the pivot. There, he's clearly out. Make the pivot for the double play, and rightly so was the hot smash. He just took his eye off the ball.
So now the tying run at second with 1 out. Billy Hamilton, the batter, 0 for 2 tonight, robbed by Herrera his last time. So a double play not turned by the Mets has been a theme this year. Herrera, who had been so in the middle of positive developments for the Mets tonight, unable to make a play, and we'll see if it costs Syndergaard.
Still throwing 98 miles an hour in the 8th.
Just his 85th pitch coming, and Hamilton takes inside 1-1.
You're a young pitcher now. You don't have to rush. Take enough time in between each pitch. You know, this is where you're starting to get a little tired, even though the pitch counts down. It's a tough game, 1-run game.
So J.J. Hoover and Nate Adcock up in the Cincinnati bullpen. 1-1 to Hamilton. Bouncing ball for Herrera. Nice easy hop. Plenty of time even against Hamilton's speed, and that's the 2nd out. Over to third goes Dominguez. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com.
Well, this is the deepest into a game that Noah Syndergaard has gone in his brief major league career. First time he's gone 7 2/3 innings.
You know what I say? Go get him. Finish it.
Well, he's got a big out to get with the tying run at third base and facing Brandon Phillips, who's hit 2 balls hard tonight. Singled to center in the third and lined out to Herrera in the sixth.
He's got to watch out for that first pitch curveball for a strike. Phillips deked him on that last at bat and took it for a strike. He's such a veteran hitter. He might sit on it first pitch.
Dominguez at third and 2 out. And Phillips has to move his feet.
Good
98
choice.
toward his knee.
Good choice.
Well, I tell you what, I'm glad he's kept in here. This is a big moment. Veteran hitter, 4-time All-Star. This is how you build character. You find out what they're made of.
Well, he's got the low pitch count. That certainly helps. Not a particularly hot night. That helps as well. The last start in Atlanta, he pitched in 95 and humid. One 1-0 to Phillips. And he bounces the fastball foul, 1-1.
You know, I was talking about it yesterday, Gary, and I don't even know if it's true, but you know, the duress of pitching when your team, you're sitting on the bench and they have 2 hits. You know, okay, 2 big hits. They've given you a lead, but it's not like you have a lot to work with for 2 hours out here.
So it's not just about having runners in scoring position. It's pitching constantly in a tie game or a 1-run game. 1-1 coming. And Phillips pops it up.
Nice.
Herrera waiting for it to come down. Side retired. For the first time in his career, Noah Syndergaard gets through 8 innings. 2-1 New York. Experience the action and fun of 2 amazing theme parks, plus stay on site at Universal's Cabana Bay Beach Resort. Just go to sny.tv/Toyota and enter the Toyota Fan Flyaway Sweepstakes for your chance to win. Well, the Mets have not done much offensively tonight, but Noah Syndergaard's been so good they haven't had to do much. 8 terrific innings for Noah, and he gets the handshakes. His work is done, and Jerry's Familia will do the rest.
16 innings the last 2 nights by Mets pitchers, only 1 run given up. That's pretty good.
It's the best
pretty good. Awesome.
Best I've seen him pitch.
Nate Adcock will pitch the bottom of the 8th inning.
Sorry, Gary. I had some time with Kansas City and Texas. Was in Louisville and called up in June when they waived Jumbo Diaz.
Eric Campbell leads off in the home 8th, and we go downstairs to Steve Gelb. Steve?
The best performance of his young career. No, it feel like the best performance.
Well, we're having some audio issues with Steve's microphone. We'll try and get back to Steve and Noah in a moment.
That's too bad. It's very nice of Noah to give an interview at this stage right now.
Campbell came in for an injured Ruben Tejada in the 5th inning. Tejada leaving with a left elbow contusion. And Campbell had a key plate appearance when the Mets scored the go-ahead run in the 5th. He drew a walk that loaded up the bases. Lucas Duda then walked against Johnny Cueto to bring in the go-ahead run. Campbell, Duda, and Kadire trying to fashion some insurance for the Mets before Familia takes the ball in the 9th. Well, let's try Steve's microphone again. Steve?
Take 2, guys. How about that? Noah Syndergaard pitched the best performance of his young career. Noah, does this feel like the best performance you've had so far?
I would say it's up there. I just had everything working for me. Fastball command, was able to locate my fastball on both sides of the plate. I knew this lineup was a very aggressive team, so I feel like that helps allow me to get deeper into games. I knew they'd jump all over my fastball, and once they decided to do that, I kept my balance with a curveball and my changeup.
What is the game plan about against guys like Frazier and Joey Votto?
I mean, I was in high school when those guys were playing, so it's kind of cool to be able to compete against them. Like this lineup right here is definitely a threat. Like everybody 1 through 9 has the ability to do some damage, so I'm very pleased with tonight.
No, a lot of first pitch strikes by you tonight. Was that the key in your mind?
I feel like that's the key in every circumstance, just being able to get to strike one. I think that's the most important thing.
Able to throw a lot of breaking pitches over the plate as well. Were you able to tell right from the bullpen that you had the breaking stuff today?
Warming up in the bullpen, I didn't really have the sharpest curveball. I just took it into the game and continued to use it.
No, another great performance at home. You've been really, really good at Citi Field. What is the comfort level at home this year for you?
It's amazing just being able to go out there and pitch in front of the greatest fans in baseball.
Well, Noah, appreciate the time. Congrats on the big game. Now go watch and finish it out.
All right, thank you.
Guys.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks to Noah. Fine performance tonight. The Mets getting back-to-back 8 innings from their starters for the first time in more than a year.
Wow. And they've needed every bit of it. This game right here could just be 2 runs and again and win a ball game by a run.
2-0 yesterday, trying to win 2-1 today. Adcock pitching to Duda, whose walk forced in the go-ahead run in the 5th.
It's almost like the Mets starters the last 2 games have said, okay, let's just get this right to the MVP.
Well, I mean, any time you can shorten your bullpen, you've done your job as a starter. Familia got the save yesterday, and he'll try for number 21 tonight. Duda pulls it into the shift, and Phillips is right there. 2 out. He is fun to watch, isn't he? Oh, he's got so much personality on the field. So 2 out and nobody on. Michael Kadire, the batter. Well, the Reds will have their big boppers coming up in the 9th inning. Votto, Frazier, Bruce. Including tonight, the Mets have now scored 13 runs in their last 9 games. And amazingly, they've got a chance to win 2 in a row. And if you think about the series in Toronto and the series in Atlanta, they could have had 2 or 3 more wins if not for some shoddy defense. It's amazing with that little offensive support. But that's how good the starting pitching has been. Met fans who have been around this franchise for a long time know that there have been years when the Mets always had a chance to win if they could score 2 runs, because that's how good the starting pitching has been over the history of this franchise, going all the way back to '69. One and two to Kadire, and he goes down on strikes. So a 1-2 inning for Nate Adcock. Jerry's Familia is going to have a tough road to hoe in the 9th. Todd Frazier, 24 home runs this year. He's going to have a turn at bat. The Jersey kid has been red hot. Familia will try and shut him and the Reds down in the 9th with a 1-run lead. All right, guys, double switch for the Mets. Daryl Siciliani will play left field and bat 8th, and Jerry's Familia in for the save. Every save this year means another opportunity to win prizes from Delta Airlines. Go to Mets.com/Delta Dugout to sign up now.
Well, it's as tough as it gets. A good low ball pitcher with that good sink, good low ball hitters for the Reds, and right through the meat of their lineup.
Joey Votto 0 for 3 tonight. And he takes the pitch low. A ball and a strike. Votto, Frazier, and Bruce against Familia, who got his 20th save of the year yesterday. Pitched a 1-2-3 inning in Milwaukee, striking out Ryan Braun to end it. 1-1 to Votto. And the sinker bounces in there, 2-1. With 14 home runs on the year. Frazier on deck has 24. Bruce behind him has a dozen. Two 2-1 coming to Votto. And he dribbles that sinker foul. 2-2. Today's game changer brought to you by T-Mobile. Votto's 32 game on base streak on the line here. It's the longest active streak in the National League. It's only the 4th longest of his career. He had a 41, a 37, and a 36 game on base streak earlier in his career. Of course, he walks a lot. Familia is conscious of that. You need to throw Votto strikes. 2-2 on the quick pitch, and he misses with a fastball. Full count.
Outside. Quick pitched him. Ball was 3 inches outside, and Votto just amazing eye.
Drawn 45 walks this year.
Only pitch he went out of the strike zone was a 2-1, and I thought he was just trying to go deep.
Full count to Votto with Frazier on deck. And he grounds one down to Duda. He'll take it himself. 1 out.
Big out right there. Get that left-handed power bat out of the way.
When his sinker's right, can't elevate it.
He's given up 3 home runs this year. So he's not perfect, but he's been awfully close.
Yeah.
Now Todd Frazier, the biggest home run threat in this Cincinnati lineup. Started the night tied for second behind Giancarlo Stanton with those 24 home runs. 1 for 3 tonight, single to left his last time up. Ground ball toward the hole. Flores on the backhand.
Nice.
Got him. 2 out.
Well, not the strongest of throws. Wilmer really settled under that ball almost too long. Nice scoop by Lucas. Very well done. Go get it. Get the short hop. That a baby.
So the Reds are down to their final out with the dangerous Jay Bruce coming up. Bruce 1 for 3, scored the only Cincinnati run back in the second. Nothing in 1. They went up tonight on Geico Sports Night after the post game. Carmelo's unhappy. Too bad. Ryan Sandberg steps down, and the Women's World Cup as well. All on Geico Sports Night after the postgame tonight. 2 out and nobody on. 2-1 New York, 9th inning. And Bruce grounds one. Herrera to his right, and the ball game is over. Jerry's familiar with a 1-2-3 9th. Noah Syndergaard, 8 terrific innings for the win. And the Mets, with only 2 hits, are able to win a game. First time they've done that since 2009. Win a game in which they had only 2 hits as they win their second straight with great pitching. 2-1 over the Reds.
Well, they do it with just 2 hits, Garrett, which is a concern, but they get the 2 runs. They get the big Lucas Duda, had a terrific at bat in Campbell when Johnny Cueto in the 5th inning walked 3 consecutive batters to walk in a run after a 2-out triple by Herrera. But Ronnie, tonight was all about Syndergaard.
It really was. He was just as good as we've seen him all season long. Even better to me than the game he pitched against his old team, the Blue Jays, when he struck out 11. Why? Because he lasted deep in the game. He had a purpose with every pitch. He kept his pitch count down. No walks, just as outstanding as it gets.
And great Aunt Hilda was there to see every bit of it. Tonight's game summary presented by Jeep. Syndergaard lowers his ERA to 3.59. Familia gets his 21st save. Mets with only 2 hits, a Granderson leadoff home run, a Herrera triple, helped out by 3 straight Johnny Cueto walks. He takes the loss, and the Mets win 2-1. Let's send it downstairs to Steve Gelb. Steve?
Thanks, Gary. Here standing by with Kevin Plawecki. Caught the great game by Noah Syndergaard tonight. Kevin, what was the key for Noah?
Well, he established the strike zone early and threw strikes in any count and had great off-speed stuff working, kept him off balance, and just dominated.
When you look at his off-speed stuff, his breaking stuff, looked like he had better command of that tonight, was able to throw it in any count.
Yeah, any count, and when you can do that, it keeps him off balance, and that's the main goal. So we did a good job of that tonight, so all the credit to him.
Last 2 days, you've had to catch some pretty good pitching there. How much fun is it to be behind the plate when DeGrom and Syndergaard are throwing the way they were?
Well, these guys make my job really easy. It's a lot of fun, and they're great pitchers, and I'm just happy to be a part of working with them.
Appreciate it, Kevin. Thanks.
Thank you.
Gary.
All right, thanks, Steve, and thanks to Kevin. For every Mets win, the Mets Foundation is proud to contribute $2,500 to the Cats Women's Hospital and the Cats Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northshorelij.com/KIWH. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $95,000.
Mets go back over 500 for the season with their second straight low-scoring win. 2-0 yesterday, 2-1 tonight. As Familia with another 1-2-3, ninth inning for the save. Mets beat the Reds 2-1. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.